Welcome to Facebook Live, another episode. Eric and Chad here. What are we, episode 122?
Yeah, 122.
We're getting up there, man.
We are.
We're getting up there. As always, welcome to our weekly Thursday Facebook and YouTube Live. Where else we at? That's it, right? Facebook and YouTube.
Yep, the only two places.
Yep. As always, post your questions below. We got a busy afternoon today, so we got a hard cutoff here, probably about 2:30. So if you got questions, get them in. We're going to run through them as quickly as we can. What else? All right, we got a question from Heath. Heath asks, Chad, which one has more cetane, EDT or Diesel Extreme? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't. Diesel Extreme?
No, they're actually they're both real concentrated cetane boosters. Out of both products, you're going to get about 7-point boost in cetane. So either way you go, you're going to get that cetane. Now, Diesel Extreme is the more concentrated injector cleaner. That's really what separates them, is the cleaning capabilities. Diesel Extreme is like brushing your teeth as far as cleaning, and then everyday diesel treatment, Diesel Extreme is like going to the dentist. EDT is like brushing your teeth every day. But as far as all the other benefits, the cetane, the lubricity, water dispersion, that's in both products. So Heath, if you want that strong cetane every tank, make sure you're running a good fuel. Then EDT is the way to go, and then run Diesel Extreme periodically. All right, Diesel Extreme. It's we'll jump into it a little bit. It's one of our best sellers, and I think the reason why is because most people notice feedback pretty darn quick when they try it. Not only because, as Heath brought up, the cetane, but also the injector cleaner. You go in, you clean out the deposits, and also you're improving the combustibility of that fuel. People typically see feedback rather quickly in terms of horsepower and torque and fuel economy, and even DPF regeneration cycles we've seen get cut down. So Diesel Extreme is actually in just about every retailer that you can find Hot Shot Secret products. So that's across the board. We're talking our farm stores, the Tractor Supplies, the Royal Kings, the O'Reilly Auto Parts, AutoZone. So if you got a store that you know Hot Shots is in, you can find the Diesel Extreme. So if you need it, obviously you can find it in store. Go to our website, hotshotsecret.com. Right. So we know this is always a good test for employees. We know Diesel Extreme is a 6-in-1, so there's 6 benefits, primary benefits from it. I see on my paper here, Chad has them listed out, but I'm going to ask you without looking. Can you name the 6?
Injector.
Without counting on your fingers either.
Injector cleaner, octane boost.
No. Cetane.
Cetane.
Yeah, we're talking diesel.
Yeah, cetane boost, yeah. Lubricity.
Yep.
Probably a stabilizer in there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got. Maybe corrosion.
Corrosion, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and the last one's a water dispersant. Especially, those two kind of go hand in hand. If you don't disperse the water, you're going to have issues with rust in your lines on your tank. So you got to make sure that gets taken care of. So those are the 6. And of course, all those are the features, if you will, right? But there's benefits to all those. We've talked about injector cleaner. One, it's going to just improve overall performance because you're getting all that junk out of the system. And we know injector replacements can cost thousands of dollars. So you clean out any deposits that are built up not only on the tip of the injectors, which is the most common external diesel injector deposits. So we got Heath chiming back in.
Yeah.
He says every tank in his 15 LML Duramax, he adds at least 16 ounces of EDT and 16 ounces of LX4. Whew, Heath. He says he goes above and beyond. As Kyle says, I keep the light on there at Hot Shots. Yeah, that's for sure. Heath, we appreciate it.
Right.
It's a little overkill, but you're doing your thing. So we typically get questions like that. If I add extra, is it going to hurt anything? Will I get any extra benefits? Well, no, it's not going to hurt anything. We've done plenty of no harm testing, and we know all that. But we always tell people, look, we're about the customer. No reason to essentially waste the money, because once you reach a certain point, you may get a little bit extra of performance or protection, but there's going to be diminishing returns at some point. So, hey, Heath, do your thing, man. We appreciate it. And he also says removing the water is just as important as the other benefits because the higher percentage in biodiesel, the more it holds the water. That's a really good point. He says, I'm not ever afraid of overdosing the additives. Yeah, so just like we said, don't really need to be too concerned about that. All right, we got a question from James. He's asking, what's your best product for the 7.3 style injector and also best for the LP5 and above freezing temperatures? Well, James, that's a great question. So the 7.3, we're talking about the Huey injectors, which we know is being fired by high pressure oil. So we got somewhere on the set stiction eliminator. It's kind of counterintuitive, right, to think that an oil additive is going to help your fuel injectors. But in the case of the Huey injectors, which is in the 7.3 power strokes, the 6-liter power strokes, it's going to do wonders because it gets so hot inside those injectors. There's so much pressure that oil begins to essentially just cook and sizzle, and that's the term stiction. Is you get these deposits built up, and then there's a sticky friction, and it's not moving as well as it should be, and injectors can even get hung up. So on the oil side, for the 7.3s and the 6.0s, and for the injectors in particular, we know stiction is an issue with every engine out there. But stiction eliminator is going to be the product on the oil side for those injectors. And then on the fuel side, both for the 7.3 and what was the other one he's asking about? The LP5. Above freezing temperatures. Diesel Extreme. Every 6,000 miles, if you haven't treated the fuel in a while, run Diesel Extreme through the first tank. Just get a good, deep clean. And then once you do that, the next product,
EDT,
yep. Everyday diesel treatment. It's got everything you need for the fuel. You know, today's diesel fuel, I should say, because gasoline is much more refined and spec'd out, and there's not as many issues. But diesel fuel, there's a lot of issues. You know, if you fill up at one pump and you go across the street, the fuel could be totally different. Quality-wise, it's going to be across the board. So it's important as a diesel owner to treat that fuel. Lack of lubricity in the fuel. Cetane levels often do not meet requirements. A lot of times issues with moisture. And a lot of people don't know this, but diesel fuel can actually go bad rather quickly. It begins to oxidize in a matter of sometimes 2-3 weeks. So that's why a fuel stabilizer is important too with any additive program that you're running. So James, that's my quick answer on those products. And then Matt has a question. He says, is it okay to run an anti-gel even if it's not below freezing? So the short answer is yes. I won't speak about some competitor products. I will say, I don't imagine any issues. But with ours, our Diesel Winter Anti-Gel, which second shelf,
right here.
Diesel Winter Anti-Gel is essentially our everyday diesel treatment just winterized. So there you go. So the treat rate's a bit different. It takes more per gallon to treat with our Diesel Winter Anti-Gel, but the reason why is because it has those added properties. It has everything our EDT and Diesel Extreme does. The cetane, the lubricity, water dispersal, everything you need, plus the anti-gel properties. So we peg that as actually a 7-in-1 because it does everything that the others do, plus the anti-gel. You can run it above freezing temps. You can run it all year round if you wanted to.
Right.
No issues there. But when you start to get to that freezing temp, that 32 and below, you want to make sure you have an anti-gel in the fuel prior to those freezing temperatures, because if you go out in the morning and it's 15 degrees and you try to add an anti-gel, a lot of the times it's too little too late.
Right.
That fuel is already starting to gel up, and that pour point is getting rougher and rougher. So short answer is yeah, above freezing is fine. Just make sure you have some on hand if you do travel to colder climates.